On today's show, it's a game day preview. We'll break down Brady Tkachuk's return to the lineup and who's resting for the regular season finale against the Carolina Hurricanes.
But all eyes are looking at the Battle of Ontario, Ross. So we'll talk about the top storylines and how the Ottawa Senators can pull off the upset.
This is Brady Tkachuk, and you're listening to the Locked On Senators podcast.
You're Locked On Senators, your daily podcast on the Ottawa Senators. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome! You are locked on to the Ottawa Senators, the only daily podcast covering the Sens. On the outskirts of enemy territory, I'm Ross Levitan, alongside Brandon Piller up in the Blue Mountains. Today is Thursday, April 17th, and Pillsy, there is an Ottawa Senators game tonight. We'll leave that for the end of the show because it is the Battle of Ontario, and we've been having a lot of fun online with Toronto Maple Leafs fans.
Well, Ross, you and I famously say the only point of making any sort of list in sports is for people to get mad at. We've had people get mad at your lists and some people even agreeing. So it's interesting to see how these two teams stack up against each other. The Toronto Maple Leafs, Atlantic Division winners, and the Ottawa Senators, the first wild card spot winners. We'll call the Ottawa Senators winning the wild card. How about that?
Woo! Hey, sixth in the conference. You New Jersey Devils, you're lucky of your geographical location. Otherwise, Ottawa would be in sixth, and that would have meant tonight's game would have been a playoff preview, but it's not. The Senators are going to take on the Toronto Maple Leafs. Later on in the show, we will get to our top storylines. We got 6 of them that will make or break the series both ways. Shout out to the Leaf fans who are watching today's show. We actually got some nice comments, and that to me was a little bit of gamesmanship because they're trying to throw us off, but it will not work. So I went out there and I said, who are the 10 best defensemen in this series? There's going to be 12, probably more, that end up playing. Obviously 6 for each side, but through the course of a playoff series, we could see some battered bodies and guys needing rest, or maybe for performance reasons, guys will be out of the lineup. And one thing's for sure, when I made this list, Jake Sanderson is the best defenseman in the Battle of Ontario.
Yeah, I mean, some Leafs fans that don't get to see him a lot may have qualms with that, but I think universally, the hardcore hockey fan will know that that is the truth. And they got to see Jake Sanderson on the big stage at the Four Nations face-off. Sure, he didn't start playing with Team USA, but once he was on that team and playing, it was clear that he should have been there since day one, since the first game. And I think even Team USA coaches would have told you that that's a mistake that they made. So
he will be on the Olympic team next year.
Yeah, I mean, he's already been on Team USA's Olympic team, right? So he's already accomplished that. But yeah, I think really there should be no qualms about who is the top defenseman in this series in my mind.
I have it broken down into tiers when we're talking about the top defenseman in this playoff series. I think number 1 is on an island on his own with Jake Sanderson. I think he's that good, and Leaf fans, like Brady Tkachuk once famously said, if you don't know now, you'll know soon about Jake Sanderson. Now, after that, I went with Chris Tanev, a guy who Ottawa Senators fans, ourselves included, wanted to bring to the nation's capital last summer. He goes to Toronto. We got to put respect on his name. This guy's a complete warrior, blocks shots, hits, does all the little things right. I've got Thomas Chabot at 3. I think those two could be interchangeable. Chabot's obviously on a heater right now, 10 points over a 6-game point streak, and he's played a lot better defensively. Still not nearly the defensive defenseman as Chris Tanev, obviously, but he contributes offensively in ways that Tanev cannot. From 4 to 8, put it however order you want. Brandon Carlo, Oliver Ekman-Larsson, and Jake McCabe for the Leafs. Artem Zub, Nick Jensen for the Ottawa Senators. I got no qualms any way you want to slice this. Do you agree or disagree with that?
Yeah, I mean, that's fair. Yeah, I think I would probably have Jake McCabe a little bit higher on this list. Certainly from the Leafs fans' comments, it seems like they value him much more than OEL. I'm not going to pretend.
Swap them.
Yeah, okay. Exactly. I'm not going to pretend to be an expert on the Leafs D-core and know where they rank amongst themselves. But yeah, I think those 4 are in the same tier. I feel like
then this was a little bit of trolling. I put Tyler Clevin ahead of Morgan Riley. I just don't think Morgan Riley is a very good defenseman. Leaf fans were quick to point out that since Brandon Carlo got there, Morgan Riley's been a lot better. Sens fans can relate to that with Nick Jensen coming in and helping stabilize Thomas Chabot with a partner he knows he's going to have every night. But I think Morgan Riley's going to have trouble with the physicality of this series if Ottawa gets to play the style that they want. So, of course, I had to do the forwards as well after how well it went last night with the defensemen. This is all on Twitter at Sens Central. You can go have a laugh at the expense of the comments. Feel free to do that. Battle of Ontario best forwards. I mean, Austin Matthews scored 69 goals last season. I know that's down a lot this year, but Austin Matthews is the best forward in this series.
Yeah, I mean, that it'd be hard for us to argue otherwise, Ross. The Senators haven't had a scorer like Austin Matthews ever. I feel like that's fair. Even Danny Heatley didn't reach the 60 goal mark, so it would be tough to argue otherwise. Now, Matthews did miss some time this year and hasn't been quite as dominant in the past, but when he's on his game, like he's one of those guys when the puck's in the O zone and he has a chance with it, you get nervous because his shot is just elite.
Which is why, again, we'll get to our top storylines, but there's a certain matchup that we need against Austin Matthews every shift. But he's the type of player you have to game plan for every time that he steps out on the ice. A guy you can't really game plan for is Brady Tkachuk, to me, the second best forward in this. I almost called it a tournament. I mean, the Stanley Cup Playoffs are a tournament, but in this series, I just think that he is the X factor in terms of setting the physical tone. And then he also can put the puck in the back of the net. He's not a guy where you can have him settle down. Oh, I'm just going to fight him. I'm going to get him off his game, focusing on other things. No, he's a goal scorer as well. And he brings the physicality that, like, I'm pretty sure. Let's actually do some digging here, some investigative journalism. I want to say that Brady Tkachuk had more hits in a week this season than Marner and Nylander had combined all season.
In a week? I don't know about that, but certainly defeats them in combined. I mean, you could probably pool a bunch of these Leafs forwards we have on this list together and they wouldn't beat Brady in hits.
Mitch Marner has 49 hits this season and William Nylander has 14. So Brady Tkachuk in one game last year had more hits than William Nylander had all year this year.
Yeah, I mean, that's insane.
In one game, Brady Tkachuk had 16 hits. William Nylander had 14 all season.
And that's where I think it's interesting because we're talking about the quality of forwards in a playoff series. Like if you
Correct.
wanted to go just regular season, look, Austin Matthews, William Nylander, Mitch Marner have way more points than any Sens players. Like we talked about it yesterday. Tim Stützle leads this team in points in the regular season. He would be fourth on the Leafs in points. They have a better scoring touch up front. But if Brady Tkachuk has the impact on this game like we believe he can, like his brother Matthew said, that was the first thing he said on the ice at the Stanley Cup is wait till Brady gets his chance. Like most other hockey fans, like people that finally got to see Brady on a big stage with the Four Nations, similar to Sanderson, those people that doubted them because they hadn't got to see them on this stage, you know the kind of impact Brady Tkachuk can have. So I think certainly he deserves a spot in the top 3. If you wanted to flip Nylander or Marner with him, I wouldn't be too opposed to that just because we haven't seen Brady Tkachuk do it in a bigger sample size.
So we've got William Nylander at 3, Mitch Marner at 4. I've been on this train for a number of years that Nylander's a more impactful player than Mitch Marner. Leaf fans agree, disagree if you'd like. But once I saw this guy tie his skates in the middle of a game, Mitch Marner is not a guy who I would want in a battle of Ontario. Maybe in a regular season game, Mitch Marner's a guy that can put up 4 points against the Buffalo Sabres. But I'm going with Brady Tkachuk when all of the chips are down. As Dean Brown told us on yesterday's show, they've got an A-bomb in Brady Tkachuk. And then with Mitch Marner, you've got a ballerina on ice, which is exciting to watch. He's got great moves. But when you're going into a battle, give me Brady Tkachuk. Number 5, we put Tim Stützle. Number 6, John Tavares, who's had a great bounce back year. You got to give him credit there. The power of the contract season. We know this guy loves his money, doesn't want to pay his taxes, so he wants to keep every dollar he can. So he's looking for his next contract to be a good one. We got Drake Batherson at number 7, Matthew Nyes at number 8, Claude Giroux at 9, and Shane Pinto at number 10. The Sens are 25-1-1 this season when Shane Pinto has a point. And in an 82-game sample size, the Senators have 135 standings points when Shane Pinto has a point in a game in his career. So he's an X factor to me as well. But Claude Giroux, I think we put on this list based on his experience. He obviously hasn't had the consistency this year as he has in years past. Matthew Nyes is a guy that I would be comfortable if Leaf fans wanted to move him as high as 6 on this list. I think he's going to be a really good player and already is in the final year of his entry-level contract for the Toronto Maple Leafs. So those are how we rank the top forwards and defensemen in this playoff series. Maybe we'll get wild and do goalies tomorrow. But Pilsy, we got storylines to get to. That's next. You're listening to Locked On Senators, your team every day.
Today's episode is brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel. The NBA playoffs are almost here, and FanDuel is giving new customers an incredible way to get in on the action. We're already seeing play-in games happening. Right now, when you join FanDuel and place your first $5 bet, you'll get $250 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. I love how FanDuel makes betting easy. Their app is awesome, whether I'm picking my favorite team or I'm dipping my toe into some player props. You got 3-pointers, steals, assists, so much more. FanDuel has so many ways to bet your favorite player props. Plus, after the game tips off, it's live, it's happening. You can even combine live prop bets into a same-game parlay for your chance to win bigger. So don't miss out, guys. Head to FanDuel.com and claim your $250 in bonus bets today.
What do we got for the series line, Pilsy? Because you said it's been moving on FanDuel.
Yeah, for the Ottawa Senators versus the Toronto Maple Leafs series line, they initially had it at plus 116, but now the season series for the Sens is plus 142. So those odds have gone up for the Ottawa Senators.
That's over at FanDuel. Go check out FanDuel to get started. Today's episode is also brought to you by Farm to Fork. It's a locally owned, locally operated premium meat and seafood company serving all of Ontario. So Leaf fans, listen up to this as well. Farm2forkdelivery.ca is where you can get all your premium meat and seafood. Grilling season is here. I love ribeyes. They got the best ribeyes at farm2forkdelivery.ca. But hey, you pescatarians, we got you guys too. You want to get some seafood on the grill? The salmon is absolutely delicious. You can put it on the grill. You can put it in the oven. What I love too is that at Farm to Fork, they are all natural, no hormones, no antibiotics meats. They are all natural products. They are all delicious and they're nutritious. They also are all freeze frozen at the butcher's table to seal in all that freshness, and they're individually vacuum sealed, so you can pull out just what you need. So head to Farm2Fork, the number 2, farm2forkdelivery.ca to learn more about how you can get these meats delivered directly to your door. That's farm2forkdelivery.ca. Taste the Farm to Fork difference. You're never going to go back to grocery store meats. They've also got their store on Carling Avenue, so you can go check them out at 1570A Carling Avenue. That's right in Ottawa. So go check them out. Farm2forkdelivery.ca. Taste the Farm to Fork difference. All right, Pilsy, got a little fired up there right out the gate. I said, we've been seeing way too many trolls online. We got to go and put our stamp and why we have the list of the top forwards and defensemen the way they are. But this series is going to be a battle. There's no doubt the Ottawa Senators are the underdogs in this series. So what to you is the number one storyline going into the Battle of Ontario? First time in 21 years to the day since Game 7 in 2004. Game 1 will be on Sunday at 7 p.m.
I've said this a bunch, so I'll stay consistent with it, Ross. It's the goaltending for me. Because, look, Linus Ullmark, we've seen, can steal wins from time to time. Like, think about that Detroit Red Wings game. What the Sens were outshot, what, like
49-24.
Yeah, 49-24. And they end up sneaking away with a 2-1 win, was it?
Yes, correct. Dylan Cousins' power play goal with 4 minutes left.
Yeah. So this is the type of performance that if you can get a game or two like that, you can get an absolute stranglehold on this series. Now, I'm not discounting Stolarz or even Woll to a lesser extent, because we all assume it's going to be Stolarz' net as he's been hot lately. But I just think if you're able to have that confidence in a former Vezina winning goalie like Linus Ullmark, last time I checked Stolarz, no Vezina trophy. You're able to play a little bit looser defensively and offensively, and that's going to help this team when you know you've got a guy back there that's feeling it and can just shut the door if you get a lead. So goaltending is mine.
And a goalie steal is where your expected goal saved above average or above expected for that game. So if you take the expected goals from the game minus what the actual goals are, if that's more than the margin of the victory, it's a goalie steal. And since the NHL trade deadline, no goalie has more steals than Linus Ullmark's 4. So that's something to keep in mind for this series. Of course, goaltending is going to be the top storyline going into this. You add in that Linus Ullmark has not had that much playoff success during his time in Boston. He did beat the Toronto Maple Leafs in a best of 7, but that's the same as saying that Stolarz is a Stanley Cup champion. He didn't play when the chips were down. Heck, Stolarz didn't play one.
He played one game.
What, he played one game? He didn't start.
I don't think he started. Yeah, he has one, according to Elite Prospects, one game in the playoffs with the Panthers.
Was it last year, though, or 2 years ago?
Nope, last year. He was only with the Panthers that year. He had a goals against of 5.17 and a save percentage of 8.42.
Okay, very good. So the goaltending.
So if Leafs fans want to point and laugh at Linus Ullmark's playoff numbers, those are Anthony Stolarz numbers completely in the playoffs. One game, 517, 842.
The second biggest storyline to me is the Toronto Maple Leafs star players that are so good in the regular season, but cannot figure it out in the playoffs when it matters most. And you look at Mitch Marner, he's had a couple good playoff runs, 2023, where they made it to the second round. He had 14 points in 11 games that year. Morgan Riley had 12 points in 11 games, and Matthews had 11 points in 11 games. But if you look at their playoff careers, Mitch Marner is the top dog with 50 points in 57 games. You look at Austin Matthews, 48 points in 55 games. That's a lot worse than what his average is during the season, and a +2 over that stretch. William Nylander's a +1 with 43 points in 54 games. Those are the three guys. If those guys are under a point per game, I think the Senators are putting themselves in a good position.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, I know the Leafs' depth is better than it has been in the past, but I mean, I don't know if we're talking about matching up bottom 6 to bottom 6, like I think the Sens, especially with that shutdown line, most likely, if the Sens have anything to do with it, going up against the top line for the Leafs. So then you're getting one of the Sens top 6 up against one of the Leafs bottom 6. You can have a major mismatch there that the Sens should be able to take advantage of.
The answer for the Leaf Stars is Brady Tkachuk. Brady Tkachuk is a storyline on his own in this series. Everyone saw him at the Four Nations, forechecking like a complete animal. Just ask Drew Doughty behind the net. And in front of the net, he was scoring. So this guy showed that when the stakes get higher, he was going to be the guy to help get his team success. So Brady Tkachuk, he's going to have to play on the line. He can't go over the line. Can't have Brady Tkachuk in the box. But he's going to be an X factor and a storyline in and of itself in the series.
And I think if you ask people, Ross, I know we're referencing the Four Nations face-off a lot here, but if you asked anyone, and I'd be interested to hear what Team USA execs would say, I think they probably would admit that they made a mistake making Austin Matthews the captain of that team when it really seemed like
he was Brady Tkachuk was the heartbeat of the team.
Yeah, like the way Brady played was the way that team played. And it's crazy to me thinking back that they made Matthews the captain of that team. Like what? I don't understand the leadership qualities he brought to that team or even brings to the Leafs for that matter. Leafs fans can tell me if it's anything different. But I just think if you're going leader up against leader, the foxhole debate, Ross, you're in a battle, you're in a war. What guy do you want in your foxhole with you? I'm taking Brady Tkachuk all day.
I had a great conversation with a Leafs fan in the replies on Twitter where rational takes are always had. And I said, did you see Brady at the Four Nations? He said, yeah, he lost like a loser. I said, well, who was the leader of that team?
No, yeah. People saying like calling Brady a loser for that. Like he
dragged 34 around the ice.
Any team that you're a fan of probably was represented on Team USA as well. So that's a weird take.
Amazing. We talked about Austin Matthews. The bottom line is he can put the puck in the back of the net.
Yes.
The Shane Pinto versus Austin Matthews matchup. Ottawa has had a defensive identity line for the second half of the season with Shane Pinto, Ridley Gregg, and Michael Amadio, Stanley Cup champion. And he is elevating his play. All three of them are. They're going to have to be a 5-man unit with Jake Sanderson and Artem Zub every single time Austin Matthews is on the ice. If Ottawa is going to win this series, that has to be at least a 50-50 split.
Yeah, and I think that's where the home games in Ottawa are going to be huge because you're going to get that opportunity to match up like that. In Toronto, you're going to do your best to do that, but you're not going to be able to perfect it with them getting last change. So when you look at playoffs, Ross, like we referenced it before, but it bears repeating. Think about, we're going back here, but in the 2007 Stanley Cup Finals, Sens fans will remember it was that third line from the Anaheim Ducks team that just absolutely shut the door on Ottawa's top offensive guys. And that was an Ottawa Senators team that leaned heavily on having those guys produce. And when
same initials, Sammy Paulson, Shane Pinto, let's go.
Okay, love it. Yeah, it's destiny. But when you have a shutdown line that can effectively totally stop your top offensive producers from scoring, that takes so much life out of a team that is used to having those guys produce. And that can ultimately affect a series. So I think having this shutdown line is so crucial. I'm not sure the Leafs have that same ability. Like, look at the McMahon, Holmberg, and Robertson line. I don't view that as an elite shutdown line. You look at Lorentz, Lawton, and Yarncroc. Sure, that's probably more of a shutdown line, but can they do it at a better rate? And will they get the minutes that Greg, Pinto, Amadio will? Absolutely not.
We got one more top storyline to get to, and to me, it's the most important one. That's next. We'll also discuss which Ottawa Senators playoff debut are you most excited about? And oh yeah, the Senators play a hockey game tonight. We'll have a quick preview at the end of today's show. You're listening to Locked On Senators, your team every day.
Today's episode is brought to you by new sponsor alert. Ross, hit me with the new sponsor noise.
Woo!
All right, Ross is that excited, and for a good reason. This episode is brought to you by Amazon Fire Stick. Did you know that your Fire TV is also an Xbox? Turn on any TV into your gaming and entertaining hub with Fire TV Stick 4K devices. No console required. Just grab your paired controller, subscribe or sign into Xbox Game Pass Ultimate with EA Play included, and you're ready to play. Dive into hundreds of premium titles from EA Sports College Football 25, I know you love that one, Ross, to Call of Duty Black Ops 6, and even Avowed, as easily as you stream your favorite shows. It's gaming made simple, and it's all on your Fire TV. Endless entertainment with 4K streaming. Watch more than 1.5 million movies. You'll never get tired of those movies. And TV episodes from your favorite subscribed services like Netflix, Prime Video, Disney Plus, Max, and so much more. I have an Amazon Fire TV Stick 4K. I love it. I use it every day for all my sports watching needs. You got Sportsnet, MLB app, and more. And it also allows me to play those Xbox exclusive games like Starfield. So head to Amazon.com/FireTV locked on to get started. Xbox Game Pass Ultimate subscription and compatible controller required. Available on select devices, including Fire TV Stick 4K 2nd Gen, Fire TV Stick 4K Max 1st and 2nd Gen, and Fire TV Cube 3rd Gen.
All right, Pillsy. So the Battle of Ontario is set, and Bruce Garriock this morning scoops reporting the schedule will be as follows. Game 1 in Toronto, Sunday, 7 p.m. Game 2, Tuesday in Toronto at 7:30. We'll see if that extra half hour allows some of those suits to change into a little something more comfortable. I bet it doesn't. Then,
put a jersey over their collared shirt.
Oh my goodness. Just make sure your phone's charged, so you can make those business calls in the middle of second period. Then in the Game 3 in Ottawa will be Thursday at 7 p.m. Game 4, Saturday night, 7 p.m.
Let's go.
Then there will be a 2-day break. If Game 5 is necessary, it will be Tuesday in Toronto, April 29th. Game 6, May 1st, Thursday in Ottawa. And Game 7 would be Saturday night, May 3rd. That's the schedule. And we've got the top storylines already discussed. Goaltending, the Leafs star players, Brady Tkachuk, Austin Matthews versus Shane Pinto's line with Sanderson and Zub. And the most important thing, and especially if you're the Ottawa Senators, because their game plan is going to be disrupt, be the underdogs, the scrappy underdogs, discipline. You cannot get the Leafs extra power plays. That would be a opposite effect of what they would be looking for to get into the mix.
Yeah, it's interesting that that's one you highlight as the top one though, Ross, because I think a lot of Leafs fans, for whatever reason, maybe it's because they despise Ridley Gregg and they think Brady Tkachuk is just a mutant, and obviously they probably don't like Nick Cousins. There's this narrative out there that the Ottawa Senators are an undisciplined team, but they draw much more penalties than they take. They actually lead the league in penalties drawn this season with 339. They were second in penalties drawn last season behind only the Florida Panthers. And then the year before, they led the league once again in penalties drawn. And you may be saying, okay, sure, they're getting a lot of penalties drawn, but how many are they taking? Now, they are 11th in most penalties drawn with 305. But you take a look at net penalties, and they still got a net plus of 34, which is third in the league. So when it comes to discipline, the Ottawa Senators are still on the right side of things, and they're able to get more power play opportunities than they give up.
Yes, but the problem is I don't trust the Sens PK. That's why it's most important to me, Ben.
No, and that's fair. So I was looking at it, and you look at PK percentages for the season. The Ottawa Senators are where are we here? 19th, okay, with 77.9, and the Toronto Maple Leafs are 17th, so just 2 spots up, and only 0.2% better at 78.1. So there's not a massive disadvantage or advantage there. And now, sure, the Leafs are known to have a lethal power play, and you got to respect that. They're 7th in the league at 25%. The Ottawa Senators are 13th, so a decent ways down, but it's only a 1.5% difference, sitting at 23.5 versus 25%. So the margins between these two teams in special teams, I think, is a lot closer than the narrative suggests.
Okay, well, let's see how that plays out. I just don't want like a Max Domi to get into a scrum and just put his hand in Brady's face and get Brady off his game trying, because that's going to be one of their game plans is can we get the lid to pop off Brady Tkachuk and have him take undisciplined penalties? Yeah,
but I think, Ross, Brady knows the bright lights of this stage. He knows he's the leader of the Sens. He knows he's the team's top goal scorer. He knows that that's going to be their plan, is to try to mismatch penalties taken. Domi in the box for 5 and Brady in the box for 5. That is a big win for the Toronto Maple Leafs. So I just think, given the importance of where they're at, and it's the first time in the playoffs, I don't think you're going to see him blow up emotionally. We've already seen him do a much better job of reining it in and laughing pigeons off when they try to fight him in the regular season this year. So I'm less concerned of that. Now, when the series gets a little deeper, let's say game 6, game 7, and there's certain guys that have just been on him all season, I can see maybe Brady being like, all right, enough of this. I'm going to shut you up with a fist in your face. That's a good way to do it. I could see that happening. But as far as the first couple games, I really don't think Brady's going to have an issue with that.
Okay, well, let's see how these go. Let us know in the comments if there's any storylines that you'd like us to be following beyond those obvious ones. Pilsy, what's also an incredible storyline is 6 of Ottawa's top 7 scorers this season will be making their playoff debut. Only Claude Giroux in the top 7 has played a playoff game. That's Tim Stützle, Drake Batherson, Brady Tkachuk, Jake Sanderson, then Thomas Chabot and Shane Pinto. You could even throw Ridley Gregg in the mix. He's next tied with Josh Norris, who obviously is no longer with us. So that's a lot of inexperience. But out of these players, or maybe one I didn't mention, which Senator who is making their postseason debut are you most excited to see elevate their game into the big moment? And if it's Brady Tkachuk unanimously, because it's probably that, who's next? Give me a top 3.
Brady number 1.
Same.
Sanderson number 2.
Okay.
Now I'll go Pinto number 3, because we talked about it. That shutdown line is going to have a major impact on whether the Sens can hold off the Leafs offense or not. And Shane Pinto not only is great defensively, but let's not forget, he's got a bit of offense in there too. And especially Ross, a little sneaky one for you. I wouldn't be surprised if we see a Shane Pinto shorthanded goal in this series, because he gets the opportunities like him. How many 2-on-1 shorthanded have him and Ridley Gregg cooked up? They don't always finish on them, but they get those opportunities. So I just think I could have gone a couple different ways with the third one. I think unanimously it has to be Brady and Sanderson in the top 2.
So let's go top 5 then, knowing that those are the top 2. So let's just make a unanimous list. We'll discuss and we'll tweet out our top 5 list. Brady Tkachuk number 1, Jake Sanderson number 2. I kind of want to fight you on Shane Pinto because I kind of want to go with Tim Stützle.
I mean, that would be my next guy. The only reason I put Pinto ahead of Timmy here, Ross, is because of the duty that Pinto's going to have covering that top line. Yep. And I just think if Pinto's not able to handle that assignment, that's going to have a bigger impact on the Sens' chances than whether Tim Stützle is able to best the Toronto Maple Leafs third line or second line. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's why I said that.
So this is where it's going to get really interesting because we're going to leave out a guy I want to get in. So if you're okay, we'll go with the lottery boys 1, 2, 3.
Okay.
And then we'll go with Shane Pinto 4. I'm so torn here because my heart wants to say Ridley Gregg.
Yeah, that's the one.
Thomas Chabot's played over 500 games and has never played a playoff.
I kind of forgot about that with Chabot. Yeah, that's funny.
Right? Like Sandy's going to be playing half the game. Yeah. So in the other half of the game, Thomas Chabot's going to have to be a big reason why Ottawa has any success.
Yeah, that's fair. But again, like if we're talking about this series against the Leafs as opposed to a generalized one, I give Ridley Gregg that edge because he's a part of that shutdown line. And my God, if he can just, it's not going to take much. If he can get into Morgan Rielly's head, which I think will be easy to do.
In a different way than how Rielly got into Ridley Gregg's head.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. And if he's able to provide some offense on the PK along with Shane Pinto. So I guess maybe I'm skewed here, Ross, because I'm emphasizing this checking line so much, but up against the Leafs, I think they like that third line might have a more impact. And I don't think it's crazy to say than the Sens top line of Brady, Timmy, and Giroux.
Yeah, that is. It does sound crazy to say, but I don't think you're far off. Should be noted, Thomas Chabot has more points against the Toronto Maple Leafs than any other team in the National Hockey League. 18 points in 26 games in his career. Nice. So just something to note in that game. So are we going with Ridley Gregg at 5 or Thomas Chabot? I feel like it's so disrespectful to leave Thomas Chabot off of this.
Yeah. Let's go Shabby. I mean, nobody deserves playoffs more than this guy. What he's been through some stuff, as we know, and that's totally fair. So yeah, I'm down with that.
Okay, and then honorable mention Ridley Gregg for sure. Okay, the Ottawa Senators play a game tonight, and Thomas Chabot will not play. Thomas Chabot will be resting tonight. So too will Artem Zub. So that means we're going to see Sanderson with Nick Jensen, I believe. Unless, is Jensen playing? I haven't heard anything one way or another on that.
As far as we know, he's in. Yep.
Okay, so that's a good sign.
I don't know if I love it, though. It seems like he's still on the maintenance path, but that's okay.
I actually kind of like getting a look of Sanderson and Jensen just in case something happens in the series and those two have to play together. At least let them communicate out here in a meaningless game. Let them snap it around a little bit and get going. This will also be Travis Hamonic's 900th NHL game, Billsy. He got there.
He got there. Great. Now you can ride off into the sunset knowing you got that coveted
Illustrious
900 game. Yeah.
Illustrious.
Hey,
Nobody remembers.
I hope people don't get it twisted. Playing 900 games in the NHL is absolutely incredible. I'm not downplaying that. I'm just poking fun at the number 900. Like nobody really is like, I want 900 even, and that's what I'm striving for. So that's all I'm poking fun at.
The big story, though, Brady Tkachuk will play in tonight's game. Travis Green says, and we all know this, Brady Tkachuk is not the type of player to dip his toe into a game. If he plays, he's playing for keeps. He's playing for real. I feel like you're more likely to get hurt if you're just coasting out there. So I wouldn't expect anything less for Brady Tkachuk in tonight's game. And I think we are also getting a look at what the forward lines will look like in a playoff series, as Travis Green has decided to go with the exact lineup that we pulled up last week for our
listener of the show.
Our deal playoff lines. The lines will be Tim Stützle with Brady Tkachuk and Claude Giroux, Dylan Cousins with David Perron and Drake Batherson, Shane Pinto with Ridley Gregg and Michael Amadio, and then Nick Cousins at left wing with Adam Gaudette at center and Fabian Zetterlund on the right side. Matthew Highmore is the extra here. And because Shabbat and Zub will not play tonight, Dennis Gilbert will be playing lefty with Travis Hamonic. So there you go.
Love it. And Ross, I'm glad that the Ottawa Senators are putting their full force out on forwards up against the Carolina Hurricanes, because they better punish the Carolina Hurricanes. Shame on you, Carolina, for resting all those guys up against the Montreal Canadiens. I mean, they still almost, it was a 4-2 win that the Canadiens
with an empty netter
barely snuck out. If Carolina would have played their full lineup, they would have beat them, I'm almost sure, in regulation.
Even if they just played Freddie Anderson. I mean, I've never seen a goalie give up as easy of goals. And not only that, but shooting the puck out for a delay of game penalty. Pyotr Kochetkov is like my least favorite goalie in the league. Talk about what he did with Brady Tkachuk on the penalty shot a couple of years ago in like a 5-2 game in the third period, coming out trying to be Dominic Hasek. I got no time for that guy.
Yeah, terrible. And like, I thought the Carolina Hurricanes, they were the petty, they had the pettiness up against the Habs. Why didn't you play Aho? You should have had Aho in there. He would have taken care of this game. I mean, I was disgusted watching the end of that game. I put it on with 5 minutes left when I saw it was close. And then the Habs scored that empty net goal, and I was just disgusted. I had to turn off my Amazon Fire Stick 4K because I couldn't handle watching it.
Yeah, that's fair. Now, if we went to overtime, though, it was still going to be Habs in the playoffs.
No, I know, but that's why I was...
You thought they're going to score twice?
Why not? Yeah.
Oh, man, that's fantastic. I love how Leaf fans would probably hate watching this, and then they got to this part. They're like, hell yeah, boys. Tell them.
Yeah, Pills, you get them.
The hate triangle between Ottawa, Montreal, and Toronto is hilarious.
Yeah, and just because I just didn't... Well, obviously I didn't want the Habs in.
Habs fans are chirping Ottawa and everything, and then all of a sudden they're like, hey, go beat the Leafs in 4.
Yeah.
Amazing.
I just didn't want any spotlight being taken away from the Sens. And I know...
Not on this show.
I know that's maybe loser talk, and Habs fans are delighted to hear me say that, but it just would have been so much nicer not having them taking a slice of the pie. But go Caps. Go Caps. I mean, again, the irony of... people that are fans of the capital city of Ontario, or of Canada, rather, cheering against a team called the Canadiens and cheering for the capital city. Literally, they are called the Washington Capitals of the USA right now with the political tension going on. The irony is not lost on me, but hey, it's all about the hockey.
It's all about the hockey, and we will have another great episode for you tomorrow with Jamie Noodles McLennan from TSN. He's going to be calling the game tonight. We're actually going to record before tonight's game, but trust me, we're not going to talk about tonight's game with him. So we're looking forward to a Battle of Ontario with a guy who is in the heart of enemy territory and does the #1 radio show in the country with the most biased Leafs fan, actually like Brian Hayes, but to watch him.
Oh, I thought you were talking about O-Dog.
Oh, I mean, he played for the team. He also eliminated the Leafs in the 0-2 playoffs as well, but that's neither here nor there. I cannot wait I almost said tonight. I can't
wait for tonight.
For Sunday night. Waiting all week for Sunday night. Isn't that what Carrie Underwood said? Or should I say Mike Fisher's wife said?
Yes.
I cannot wait. Looking forward to a great Battle of Ontario. If you're a Leafs fan, this is not a safe space for you, but we appreciate you subscribing anyways. For you Sens fans, be a friend. Tell a friend. Locked On Senators is here, and I will let you know that tickets for the Glebe Central Pub Shuttle are now available for home games 1 and 2. So go get your tickets. Glebe Central Pub website. Our good boy, our good citizen, our boy Anthony from Tucson, Arizona, born and raised in Ottawa. He was on the show when we did that Sens fan call in last week. He has his tickets for game 3, and he will be on the Glebe Central Pub Shuttle. He's coming in solo for the game. So this is where Sens fans go to meet up, to get to the game. $17 round trip. Cannot wait for all that. For today, we say goodbye.
I got a final thought though, Ross.
Final thoughts on today's show, Pilsy.
Yes, thank you. I'm a Belleville Senators believer, and they beat the Laval Rocket 2-1 last night. Ross, the Cleveland Monsters lost their game, so Belleville is only 3 points back with 2 games left. 2 more games up against the Laval Rockets. Stick it to the Montreal Canadiens franchise and beat the Laval Rocket in these last 2 games to get into the playoffs. My God, I need it. I still believe in the Belleville Senators.
2 games this weekend against Laval. Let's go. Big one. And by the way, Carter Yakimchuk, his team has erased a 2-0 series deficit in 2 games. They won in overtime last night, so they are tied at 2, game 5 on Friday. Thank you for liking, watching, listening, and engaging with the show. It means a lot to us. Please subscribe to the podcast on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts. We'll be back tomorrow. For today, we say goodbye. For Brandon Piller, I'm Ross Levitan. This has been another edition of the Locked On Senators podcast, your team every day.